Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome. Today we're going to explore the War of 1812 from Worthington Publishing, designed by Grant and Mike Wylie. Now this is a solitaire game where you take the role of the US forces as they invade Canada during the War of 1812. The British player is automated and this game comes in a tiny package. Check it out, it's this big. So in this video, we're going to jump in, take a look at the components, show a little bit of gameplay, and then give some impressions on the game. Let's jump right in and get started. And here we have the components in all their glory. I should say before we start that this would make for a great travel game. This box actually fits in the pocket of my cargo pants. So you can stuff a war game in your pants pocket if you have a large enough pocket for it. We've got the board here, die, 2 player aids, 20 counters, and then the rule sheet. Let's jump in and take a look at each one of these pieces in itself. If we start out with the rules, this is pretty simple here. This is one side, and even more so, this second side here really is 3/4/6, all kind of just a War of 1812 explanation, historical backdrop to the actions along the Canadian border. So the rules really are kind of 8 panels here. It took me about 5 minutes or so to read them. If I were to give this game a complexity rating, I would say it's a 1.5 out of 10. Gameplay follows an I go, you go, with the US player going first. And during the US player's turn, as we'll look at their player aid, they can take one of any 4 different actions. And then you're going to have another player aid that you're going to roll a die for as the British, and that determines what the British automated bot does in their actions. And there are 20 turns in the game, and victory points, basically how successful the US invasion is, determines your victory level as the US player. And again, this is a solitaire game that you can only play from the US perspective. The British force is always automated. Here's our set of 20 counters, and it's actually 17 because this is just a logo marker, and these 2 are blank. So we've got 17 counters, so a relatively small counter set, of course. And if we kind of walk through them, one of the elements that you're going to be battling for is control of the 3 lakes, Lake Champlain, Lake Ontario, and Lake Erie, and they start out the game under British control. These are all marked double-sided, so as you gain control of the lakes, you'll be flipping over these counters to the US side for American control. And then there are 4 fronts in the game, as we shall see when we look at the map. These are the US markers for each one of those fronts, and these are the British markers for each one of those fronts. US also has the mechanics where you can bring in regulars that give you some die roll bonuses. You can do a re-roll. The British have some Northwest Warriors they can bring in. That's their counter there. And then we have a turn marker. And so that's the modest set of 17 counters, but there are a number of different play options that you'll have as the US as you try to win the game. And the British are going to be doing a variety of different things too. There are 2 player aids that guide the sequence of play. These are one-sided, nice, strong cardboard backing, so you'd probably want these out as you're playing the game. And these dictate on the left-hand side for the sequence of play, and then for the US side, it lists the actions here. And these actions, I think, are a little bit helpful for understanding gameplay. Basically, the US is going to get 1 to 3 of these actions per turn. And one of them is you can attack an adjacent front, so basically push up your ground forces into Canada, or you can try to gain control of one of the lakes. If you want to, you can add regulars to your forces, which give you a better chance of victory in an upcoming battle. And then if the British have the Northwest Warrior in play along the Northwest Front, then you can attack that to try to remove that first, because you're at disadvantages in that Northwest Front if the Northwest Warrior force is in play. This is the British action marker. So when the British are up, you're going to roll a 6-sided die. We have some different actions for odd turns and even turns. And this is going to dictate whether the British Navy is going to try to regain control of a lake, whether the Northwest Warriors are going to come in, or where and how the British are going to counterattack and try to push your invasion forces back. Lastly, we have the 7-inch by 14-inch map. And this is where we can start to see the gameplay elements here. So the US forces are going to have starting points here, this Northwest Front, Fort Niagara Front, the St. Lawrence Front, and then the Northeast Front. And they're going to be trying to push up into Canada along these lines of attack. Now, some of the places like these fortifications or Montreal and York have big die roll modifiers that are going to be tough to get as the US forces, but they're also worth more victory points. Down here we have the lakes, Lake Champlain, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. We're going to be dropping the control markers on those. And then this is the turn track. The game again goes 20 turns, at which point you determine the victory by the victory point total. Also, the game has one 6-sided die to control all of the British actions and the results of the US actions, and also to see how many resource points the US is going to get each turn. So when the US turn is up, they're going to roll a 6-sided die, and they're going to get 1 to 3 actions depending upon that die roll. So with a 1 or a 2, they get 1 action, and then a 5 or a 6 gives them 3 actions. So a lot of different little subtleties in this game. This game, I think, is going to play really fast. And with that in mind, let's check out some gameplay now. Let's jump right in and invade Canada. So we're at the beginning of our invasion here. We have 4 fronts, the Northwest Front and the Niagara Front, both of which are pushing up to York. York is worth 3 victory points. However, Montreal is worth 6 victory points. And we have the St. Lawrence Front of troops and the Northeast Front of troops pushing up this way. So this, I think, taking Montreal will be a priority for us. Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and Lake Champlain, all controlled by the British forces. We get 1 victory point for control of the lakes at the end of the war, but the British get 2 victory points for it, so we definitely want to try to clear the lakes as well. The Northwest Warriors are not in play yet. They may come in as the war progresses. And thinking about a little bit in terms of the overall tactical situation, we need to get 17 points to get a victory. 11 to 16 is a draw. Montreal is worth 6, and each one of these towns in here is also worth 1 to us. So just getting Montreal gets us 10, if we come up this way, gets us 10 victory points that we would need along the way for ultimate victory. So this seems to be a pivotal one to get, and control of the lakes, we're also going to put a priority on that. It's also worth mentioning we can lose the war immediately if after turn 4 the British occupy any 2 of these starting locations. So we definitely want to try to, I think our strategy, we will gain control of the lakes as quickly as we can, push up a little bit in at least 2 or 3 of these areas, and then make a drive for Montreal to get the big victory there. So that's what we're going to start out with. Now, for each turn that we start out, we're on turn 1 right now, we start by rolling to see how many resources we get, basically our supply. On a 1 to 2, we get is bad, we only get 1. 5 to 6 is good, we get 3. And we get 1. We're going to try to take control of Lake Ontario right away. Ship battle results here is a 1 to 3 has no effect, and a 4, 5, or 6, the attacker wins, and we change control, and we fail. So the US off to a pretty abysmal start here. Don't get many resources, and we lose the Battle of Lake Ontario, leaving it in British control. Now we're going to roll down here for the British actions on a 1 to 6. Let's see what happens. We get a 5. This distinguishes between odd turns and even turns. British Navy, if the British control Lake Ontario, which they do, retreat the American St. Lawrence front 1 town, so that we are knocked out of our starting position. That's bad, because on turn 4, after turn 4, if the British have 2 of these conditions, we've lost the entire war. So we're off to a pretty bad start here. Let's go to turn 2 and see if we can do a little bit better. Let's get supplies up here. 3. Okay, so we got 2 supplies in stage. Let's see if we can regain control. We're going to try to take, actually, let's push up here from St. Lawrence Front to see if we can take Sackett's Harbor again to regain our starting position. Now, on this attack, a 1 or a 2 is no advance, and a 3 to a 6, we advance. We get a 3. Excellent. So we push the British back to Kingston here, regaining our original starting position, and let's see if we can regain control of Lake Ontario. We do. Excellent. So this flips over to US control. We've got control of Lake Ontario. Those were our 2 actions. Let's see what the British do in response. The British get a 2. This distinguishes by odd turns or even turns. This is an even turn. Defend the capitals. Attack American front markers occupying adjacent or 2 towns away from Montreal and York. There are no conditions that meet that requirement. So when that happens, we ignore the British action. Lucky us. Excellent. So right now, by the way, if we were to score this game, we would be at -4 points, because we have advanced nowhere up in our invasions. The British get 2 points for this and 2 points for this, which gives them 4. Oh, we actually get 1 here, so we would get 1. So it's British 4 to our 1, which would be -3 points for us. So let's see if we can improve our situation here. Hoping for a good supply bout here. We get 4, which is 2 resource points. Let's see if we can push up here on the northeast front into La Colle. So we need a 3 to 6, and we can push up there. We get a 3. Excellent. So we push them back to Isle au Noix, and our advance has moved forward now. With our second action, let's see if we can gain control of Lake Champlain on the seafront. We need a 4 to 6. Oh, excellent. We gained control of Lake Champlain. 2 of the 3 lakes now are in U.S. control. The victory point total right now at the end of the game, at end of turn 3, would be 1 for this point for us, 3 for 2 more for the lakes, giving us 3, and 2 for the British. We're in the positive now. We've got 1 victory point. But the British have to respond to us here in turn 3. They get a 1, and this is an odd turn. Defend Lower Canada. Attack the American front marker on the northeast front and on the St. Lawrence fronts. So the British are going to counterattack. Let's do the northeast front. So much for our lead here. Northeast fronts first. Same odds. They need a 1 to 2 with no advance. A 3 to 6 is successful. Yes! Our northeast front holds fast in the drive to Montreal. Let's stick to St. Lawrence front. 4. Not as good. Our troops down here really struggling to hold Sackett's Harbor and get any momentum going. So we'll want to push them out because we're getting close to the line here where if the British take 1 more spot here, we would immediately lose the war. So let's see how we do on resources and actions this time. A 3, which gives us 2 actions. Our first action then, let's see if we can regain Sackett's Harbor. We need a 3 to 6 to succeed. We just get it. Pushing the British back to Kingston in the seesaw battle on the St. Lawrence front. Let's now push up from the Niagara front to see if we can take Fort George. Now, Fort George, you'll notice, is a fortification, so it's a -1 die roll modifier to us. So instead of a 1 to 2 failure, it's a 1 to 3 failure. See if we can push through. Excellent! Niagara front gets going, and Fort George falls to the Americans. Now, let's see how the British respond in turn 4 here. They get a 4, and this is all turns. Okay, flip over true British front markers to regulars. Player's choice if not flipped already. Let's flip over the northwest front here, and let's flip over the St. Lawrence front. So this gives the British -1 die roll modifiers on both of these fronts. I want to leave this one weaker because I want to drive up to Montreal through the northeast front if we can, and we're making some progress down here. So maybe if we just grab one of those, that will be okay. Probably made sense maybe to do this one instead. But anyway, we've done our action here. Let's go to turn 5 now and see how things go. We only get 1 action. Okay, I do want to see if we can, we should get control of Lake Erie. Let's try for the control of Lake Erie. 4 to 6 and we succeed. We fail. An absolutely unproductive sequence of events here for the US in turn 5. Let's see how the British respond with a 5 on an odd turn. If the British control Lake Ontario, which they do not, retreat the St. Lawrence front marker. Otherwise, attack the American ships on Lake Ontario. Get a 5 and they flip control over. They're successful. The British Navy regaining control of Lake Ontario. We want to rectify that because those again are worth 2 victory points for the British, and control over them allows them, as we've seen, to push troops back pretty easily. So we want to get control of the lakes, I think, here. Let's see what we get for resource points. Oh, nothing. Our supply line's not doing very well. Let's see if we can regain control of Lake Ontario. And we fail. 2 completely unproductive turns here, and 5 or 6 for the US. British get a 4, all turns, flip over 2 British markers to the regulars. So -1 die roll modifiers for all British forces right now. The regulars are in play. Now, if we beat them, we flip them back over to the regular troops, so it's not that way for the rest of the game. But the US offensive not looking pretty good. Turn 7 here. We need a big, oh man, 3 turns in a row with only 1 action. Okay, but we still need, the right move is gaining control, I think, of Lake Ontario. Not looking good for the US. Turns 5, 6, and 7, absolutely no progress. We need to give the British response here in turn 7, which is a 3. This is an odd turn. If the British control Lake Champlain, they do not retreat the American Northeast Front. Otherwise, attack the ships on Lake Champlain. They do that, and they succeed. Oh, man. So the British turning our offensive completely around here. Turn 8. Now, as we start turn 8, if this ended right now, the British would have 6 victory points for the lakes. We have got 1 here and 1 here. We've got 2. So we're still at -4. A terrible offensive here for the US, but let's see if we can do better in turn 8. Excellent. We get 3 actions in turn 8. Let's start by taking control of Lake Ontario. We do. Perfect. Let's go now to Lake Champlain. Let's get that. Fail. Let's try Lake Champlain again. Fail again. Man, we've rolled 5 times for control of the lakes and we've failed 4 of those. That's not very good odds there. Okay, let's go to the British in turn 8 now. They get a 2 even turn. Attack American front markers occupying adjacent or 2 towns away from Montreal or York. They are not there, so nothing happens for them. Excellent. Let's go to turn 9 now. Okay, we need to get control of the lakes and start driving forward. 3 gives us 2 actions. Let's get Lake Champlain. Oh, we fail again. Our naval forces are terrible here. Okay, let's change gears here. Let's go up for Isle aux Noix, which is a 1-2 normally. It's in a fortification and it's British regulars, so -2 die roll modifiers. So we need a 5 or 6 to succeed. I have faith in our northeastern front though. Not that much faith. We lose. We're not doing very well here. I did so much better the first time I played. This is my second time to play, by the way. Okay, turn 9, British. 6. It's an odd turn. Indians on the warpath put the Northwest Warrior box in play. So the Northwest, Northwest Warriors come into play along the Northwest front. So that's something we also want to clean up too. Let's go to turn 10. The War of 1812 going abysmally for the US here. Oh man, we got 1 action again. Okay, let's see if we can take out Lake Champlain. Seriously? We're so bad this time. British get a 1. It's an even turn. Defend Upper Canada. Attack the American front marker on the Northwest and Niagara fronts. Okay. So let's go first to the Northwest front, attacking across here. This is not fortified, so the British succeed. This is only for defending here. The British succeed on a 3-6. They fail. Excellent. Northwest front holds their ground. On the Niagara front, they need, we are in a fortress, right? Yes. So they need a 3-6 to, a 4-6 to succeed. They do succeed, pushing us back to our starting point and gaining control again of Fort George. So as we hit turn 10 here, we've only advanced in 1 spot. Gain control of the lake, that's 2 points. The British have 4. We're still at -2. Disastrous kind of frontier war for the US here. Let's see how many actions we get. 2 actions. Okay, great. Let's see if we can get control of Lake Champlain again here. Oh, we failed. Let's see if we can get control of, oh man, all of these are attacking fortresses with die roll modifiers, but we do need to clear these because they're going to counterattack and knock us out of the war here. Let's do Niagara front. There we need a 5 or a 6 to regain Fort George. Get a 2, so we fail. Turn 10 for the British here. See what happens. A 1, it's an even turn. Defend Upper Canada. Attack the American front marker on the Northwest and Niagara fronts. Both of these are in normal spots. If the British win both of these, the War of 1812 is over and the US concedes. Northwest front fails. We hold. Excellent. The war will continue on, and they fail again. Both times our troops hold against the British forces. Most excellent. We go to the second half of the war now, hopefully with better results than the first half. It doesn't start out. Our supply situation just not looking good here. I think we've rolled a 5 or a 6 once, and I know we've rolled 1s or 2s like 4 or 5 times. Okay, so we have 1 action. We probably should try to take Fort George because we don't want to lose if they win 2 times. We get kind of lucky there. 2, well, we failed again though. Okay, British are up. They get a 4. Flip over the British markers to regulars, but they're all regulars, so we can't do anything about that. We go to turn 12 here. Oh, seriously? What is with our supply situation? Who's in charge of our supplies? Okay, let's try to get Fort Malden here. A 5 or a 6. Yes! We push out the regulars, which flips them over, driving them back to Moravian Town, and we take Fort Malden with a little bit of progress. Let's see what happens here for the British. They get a 2, and it's an even turn. Defend the capitals, that is, attack American front markers adjacent to or 2 towns away from Montreal and York. We are nowhere close to that, so nothing happens there. Let's go to turn 13. Lucky 13, let's get 3 supplies here. Oh, our supply is so bad. Okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot here. Because the Northwest Warriors are in play on the Northwest front, when you attack, it's an additional -1 die roll modifier. So we needed a 6 in order to be able to succeed there, and I think we got it. Let me check the virtual replay here. So I checked the virtual replay. We actually did get a 6, so that's the right result. We did it right, but we should have tried to take out those Northwest Warriors before we got that town. We got a little bit lucky there, but we'll let it stand because we played it through the rules the right way. Now, on turn 13, we only have 1 action. Let's actually see if we can get Lake Champlain, because I want to don't lose this ground here on the northeast. So hopefully we can beat the... we fail again. Okay, these are some pathetic Americans here. Turn 13, British. They get a 6. This is an odd turn. Indians on the warpath, put the marker in the northwest box if not already in play. It already is in play, so that was lucky there. Let's go to turn 14. Time for a U.S. surge here to end the war. Yes, we get 2 actions. Okay, we're going to try to take Lake Champlain. We get it. Excellent. So back under U.S. control. Good. And let's drive for Montreal. So we're going to try to drive forward from Montreal. These are the British regulars, and it's in a fortification. So normally we need a 3 to 6 -2. We need a 5 or a 6. I got it. Northeast front is going to make a heroic drive here. Oh, they failed. Okay. We might want to bring some regulars in to try to adjust our die rolls. But turn 14 for the British here gets a 3. This is an even turn. If the British control Lake Ontario, retreat the American Niagara front, but they do not. Otherwise, attack the American ships on Lake Ontario. British attack the ships on Lake Ontario and succeed, regaining control of Lake Ontario. We need to get the lakes back because that really influences our victory point total here. Turn 15. Yes, we got 3 actions. Excellent. Okay, let's get Lake Ontario back. Fail. Let's try it again. Fail. Oh, come on. Let's try it again. Yes, finally. Not much progress there. An epic battle on Lake Ontario. Back to the British for turn 15. They get a 5, which is, this is an odd turn. If the British control Lake Ontario, retreat the American St. Lawrence front 1 marker. Otherwise, the British fight for Lake Ontario and they take it back. God, we're going nowhere so fast. How many victory points do we have? We've got 1 for this. We've got 2 for this city. We've got 3 for this city. And they have 4. And I think they get 2 for the Northwest Warriors. They do. So they get 6, 3. We're at -3. Oh my gosh, we're going to lose Washington, D.C. here. Okay, but back to the matter at hand. Let's go to turn 16. 5 turns left. Let's see if we can at least move forward here a little bit. See if we get some actions. Oh, we get 1 action, of course. We do need to take care of the lakes. We kind of have to take care of the lakes, and we don't get it. So we go to the British turn 16 right now. We get a 2 for the British, and this is an even turn. So defend the capitals, attack American front markers adjacent to or 2 towns away from Montreal or York. We have no U.S. forces anywhere near Montreal or York. Embarrassingly so. 17. Maybe we just shoot for Montreal. Let's see what we get here. Only 1 action. We can't go anywhere. Okay, let's see if we can take this Isle au Noir, which is a -1 and a thing. We need a 5 or a 6 to get it because they're dug into it and they're regulars. Excellent. We get a 6, which flips them over. Saint Jean, they fall back, and we take Isle au Nord, gaining us another victory point. Let's see what the British do, however. 5 is an odd turn. If the British control Lake Ontario, they do. Retreat the American St. Lawrence front marker. They push us out. We've got to get that back because that could immediately end the war. Not immediately. We're on the back end of the war already. But that's not a good result for us. Let's go now to turn 18 and see what happens here. We get 2 actions. Very quickly, we need to get Sackett's Harbor back. We need a 4, 5, or 6 to regain that. We fail. Let's try it again. We fail. Okay, British are up. Turn 18. This might end the war here. 5. This is an even turn. British Navy attack American ships on American-controlled lakes, which is only Lake Champlain. They need a 4 or 6 to take it. They fail. Our forces on Lake Champlain hold. But it is looking grim here. We need 17 victory points to win. Turn 18. Of course, we're going to get... Now we get the 3 supplies and actions. Okay, let's see if we can at least get to positive here. We have to take Sackett's Harbor back. So let's see. We need... that's not a fortress. We need a 4, 5, or 6 to get it back. Yes. Excellent. So we push them back to Kingston, reverting them to regulars, and we regain that. That's 1 action. We've got 2 more. Let's get Lake Ontario. Yes, we get Lake Ontario. Excellent. Let's get Lake Erie. No, fail. Okay, turn 19. We can still get to the positive here. A 5, and this is an odd turn. If the British control Lake Ontario, retreat the St. Lawrence front. They do not, so they're going to attack the ships in Lake Ontario. Every time we've gotten Lake Ontario, they're taking it back from us. And they fail. We hold. All right, our last turn. What do we need to get at least... Oh, wait a second. Are we playing actually to not lose here? Let me just check. I didn't think we'd be in the negatives here, but let's see what it is. 10 or less is a British win. Okay, so we can't win. We're only going to lose, but let's see if we can avoid the ignominy of a negative score. What are we at right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the British have 4. So we're actually in the positive now. We're at +1 right now. Let's see how many actions we get. 3 actions. Excellent. Very good. These are creating us problems. The clearest way for us to get victory points, actually, we could drive all the way to Montreal here if we push these back. 1, 2, 3, because you can do the same actions in the same place. This is not a fortification. Let's do it. We're going to attack. We're going to just take Montreal and go for it. First one is a fail. Oh, okay, let's see if we can get Lake Erie then. We're not going to get Montreal. We fail there as well. Let's see if we can remove the warriors. Yes, success. We go to the last British turn here. They get a 2, and this is an even turn. Defend the capitals. Attack American front markers occupying adjacent or 2 turns away from 2 spots away from York or Montreal. There's nothing even close to that. There you have it. The War of 1812, the Canadian invasion by the most inept U.S. forces imaginable. To my defense, whoever was providing supplies to the U.S. forces on this front really should be taken out and fed to a dinosaur or something like that. That was, I mean, the luck generally evens out in a game like this, right? But I feel like we really got the short end of the stick, and we couldn't get good rolls either. How many times did we try to get stuff? We kept giving 1s to 3s on those 50% rolls there. So yeah, what is our final score here? Okay, so we've got 2 points here for this. We get 1 point for each of the lake. That's 4 points for us. We have no other control of one up here is 5 points in the positive. The British don't get any positive points. They don't own any of our starting locations, but they do get 2 points for that. 3 points. So we needed 11 points to get to just the draw status. An epic defeat of the British, above the US forces, by the British forces in Canada in this alternate history of the War of 1812. All right, let's do some impressions of gameplay. What do I like? Well, first up, the rules are really tight. This is a really fast-playing game. When you're looking for something quick and easy to play, this is a good choice, I think. Now, it took us about 20 minutes on the video replay, I guess, to play the whole War of 1812. Without talking and explaining things so much, I'm guessing probably 12 to 15 minutes to play around. This game is also going to travel well. You don't really need these, flat on the table. You could hold this one, especially the British one, in your hand, and you don't really need this one once you know what you're doing as the US. So this is something I think you could use on an airplane, on the folding tray, and get in like 3 or 4 games in an hour flight or something like that if you're going somewhere. So it's going to travel well. It's got a small footprint. It's going to store well and carry well. So I think in that respective of what this game is trying to be, which I think is a simple, engaging solitaire game that you can take with you on a trip and play in kind of quick spurts when you're looking to play a quick game and things like that. In terms of there's strategy versus luck, there's definitely a luck factor here, right? The dice roll gods can slam you down, and I imagine we could play the next time and the dice roll gods can lift you up, right? So it's impossible not to say, there's certainly an element of of luck here, and you are somewhat at the mercy of the die roll gods here. You would expect them to kind of even out over the course of an entire campaign, but yeah, sometimes you're going to have good luck and sometimes you're not, and it's definitely a factor here. And I think with a game like this too, that's just, this isn't a game where you're looking for incredible depth of choice and stuff. Like, it's not designed to be that type of game. This is a simpler, I think, engaging game that's going to tell a quick story and give you some interesting choices. You do have to figure out how you're going to handle these warriors, how you're going to handle the sea lane control. You're trying to balance by not losing these points here, where you're going to put the British regulars and who you're going to attack as they start driving in. It does seem to make sense that Montreal is worth 6 points and York is worth 3, that at all possible, if you're going to win the War of 1812, you got to get Montreal, and we never got close. When I did play the game before this, I did get Montreal, and it got us to, I think, 14 victory points. You also have this situation where if you don't have control of the lakes, as we can see, you can automatically lose ground on this front, which can be painful. So gaining control and keeping control of the lakes, although we weren't able to do this in this alternate history, that seems like, a pretty decent strategy. So it's not a one-dimensional game. You've got a number of kind of strategy lines you can kind of push on to try to make some good choices and things like that, and tilt the odds in your favor a little bit. We didn't use these regulars, which we would drop here, and that gives us an extra die roll. We can re-roll things. So basically it's kind of shifting a turn in different directions, but you can use these on defense too. So that might have made sense in a couple places to put those in as well. But yeah, I like this game. I mean, it's not the deepest, most engaging strategy game that you're going to play because of the luck element and because it's aimed as a simple travel game like this. I could see this being a really fun game to play with your kids too, or someone who's new to wargaming. It's got some interesting choices, and for what it's trying to be, I think it does a really good job. So yeah, thumbs up to me, War of 1812, and I look forward to kind of dragging this with me as I go on to some different travel situations. I think this would be a really fun game to just pull out in a hotel or just pull out somewhere and kind of run through a couple of quick games sometime. If you've liked this Solitaire replay and want to see something on a different nature, I'll put a link here to our Save South Vietnam replay, which is a multi-episode replay of the entire Vietnam War. Much like this is a replay of the War of 1812, but a game that's at the other end of the spectrum in terms of depth and decision making. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be happy to entertain any questions that you might have. Thanks. Bye.